And we are live. Audio. Looks like it's working. You guys let me know if the video or the audio, I'm still learning, if it's not that good. I'm just going to make sure I can see your comments. Welcome. My name is Guillaume Cornet. I'm a filmmaker based on the Gold Coast, Australia, and I run a video production business called Blue Media House. And I've been making videos for the past, I've been making videos my whole life, but professionally for the past 5 years, since 2016. I used to be an engineer, a mechanical engineer. I worked in a company doing supply chain and engineering for aircraft engines. And one day I decided that was not my cup of tea, and I quit my job. And here I am, making videos on YouTube today. I make all kinds of videos, lots of commercials and content and social media content for brands, helping brands and businesses with their content creation. So yeah, thanks for joining, Alex. You can see your comments, I'm happy. Just let me know again if the audio or the video is not that good. It looks good to me. I'm still learning. I know we had a lot of white static last time in the sound, so I tried to fix that. I've got a lot of electronics around me. I've got a light here, plus obviously a computer and the hard drives here, and I've got a washing machine just behind that wall and the dryer running at the moment. So if you hear a bass noise, it's coming from that. But yeah, working on this. This stream is going to be around Final Cut Pro that I already have open here, and we're going to cover everything from the basics, starting from actually the file management. So let's say you come back from a shoot and you are uploading your SD cards, your memory cards, your CFAS, whatever, onto your computer, and I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. This is not the right or wrong way. There is no, I believe there is no right or wrong way. Everyone is different. Everyone likes to manage their file differently. Oh, just one thing to note, if you want to be able to comment, you need to subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave any comments. Other than that, subscribe, leave a thumb up. That's going to push the video to other people that may be interested into the same kind of content. Share it with people directly that you know that could be interested. And and that's helping as well, pushing the algorithm to help the channel grow. And I would be very grateful if you enjoy the content, if you learn something from me today. All right. And yeah, obviously, like, I'm going to try to guide it and do it around Final Cut today, as I said. But if you have any questions, and even if it's not related, since we are still like a small community, we are not too many. If you have other questions related, like business related, running a filmmaking business, camera related or more technical, feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to just take a small detour and talk about that. But yeah, just before jumping in, do you guys have any questions already? Obviously, I'm going to share my screen so you can see a bit better, because I'm actually streaming from the Sony a7S III that's feeding through HDMI to a capture card. And so far, it looks pretty good here, and I feel like I found some good formatting on YouTube, because last week we couldn't have 1080p, and it looks like we are in 1080p without burning my computer yet. All right, just making sure I can see your questions here, and let's get started. I'm actually going to share my entire screen first, and so it's on my widescreen. That's why it's a weird format, but I'm going to try to keep everything quite in the middle so you can see everything. And we are going to start with file management, and let's bring that a bit closer. Sorry if it's a bit noisy now. Shouldn't be too bad now. All right. Here, pretty simple. So I'm using a MacBook Pro. It's a 16-inch 2019 version, the fully spec'd, I believe, with like 64 gig of RAM and all of this. It's a great laptop. It does, right now after a few years, like it does, you can hear the fans spinning full speed. So I think a proper desktop computer would be welcome at some point, because that one is not going to survive very long, especially editing 4K 10 bits with the Sony a7S III, and now 5K with the Gemini, or 6K footage with the Red Komodo, and 5K footage with the 5.4K with the Mavic, the Air 2S, the DJI drone. So I'm like super high resolution on everything, and the computer, even though working with proxy, is starting to be a bit behind. So more money to spend here. But anyway, the way I edit is I never edit directly on my computer. I use 6 a.m. in Europe. It's 2 p.m. here. And what time do you wake up? 6, you're an early riser. You're working hard. No drama. No complaint here. I wake up at 4. Oh, is that for early wake up call? I do go to bed very early. Like a grandpa. So basically, yeah, I don't keep anything on my computer just because I don't trust. First of all, I don't trust my computer. And I do have a Drobo that's not connected. I disconnected everything because I needed the port. But I've got a Drobo 5D3. I wouldn't recommend it, but for long-term storage, that one is 64 terabyte. And it's the Beyond RAID technology. So if I have one hard drive failing, it's going to steal all the whole information. I use that as the archive drive, and I use those drives. Let me pull that on the big screen, but no, wrong one. That one is a Samsung, it's a T7. So I use T7 or T5s. That one is the 2 terabyte. I've got 1 terabyte as well. Like, I've got heaps of those, and they are great to edit with. I did everything on it. Obviously the 2 terabyte now is my main one. And so let's go back in Final Cut, and I've got my file structure. So right now it's a mess, and the demo is actually, I called it Monday Live, but it's Friday Live here, because I'm going to use the same library I used on Friday. And here it's a mess. You can see there are 2 libraries. We don't know where, and I did that on purpose to show you guys. So there are multiple ways of doing so, but one way, and if you're interested, leave a comment below, and I'll send you the YouTube video that will show you to do that. But here you can see on my desktop, I don't have too much stuff. It's pretty clean. Just making sure you can see. Yeah, apparently you can see. And here you've got this one. It's a different folder. It's a custom icon, but that one is called New BMH Project. It's for Blue Media House, for my production business. And what I found is I always use the same file structure for all my projects. And I found that it was, if I could automate that, it would save me a few minutes. And, you know, compound it to a year of projects when you do 100, 200, 300 projects, no matter how many projects you're doing. Like, we are saying, like, it's pretty much hours of work just creating file structure and folders. So I created an automation with Apple Automation, which is that thing, Automator. It's a script. And basically when I double click on this, and again, like, if you're interested in getting this, leave a comment down below, and I'll answer the stream questions after with the link of the video, because I need to do some research. But basically, you double click on this one, and here I've got my project name. So we are going to call this one Monday Live. It's all automated. And press OK. Now it's going to ask me where to save this. Obviously, we want to go into the SSD. That one is the one connected is the 1 TB, and we are going to create. I'm going to create a new folder for the example, but that's going to be the same. It's going to be called Monday Live. It's going to be the folder. Oh, never mind. Just scrap what I just said. We already created a folder. So I'm choosing just the location of the folder now, and click on choose. And now what's happening? My automation is creating. Now let's go back in the Finder. We created Monday Live. I'm going to put a red dot for you guys to see it. But this is what just happened. I have a full file structure. That's 99% of the case, the right one for my project. On top of this, the automation opens Lightroom. That's why it's asking me right now. I'm not going to do it because we don't have any pictures, but if I come back from a shoot, usually I would have multiple cameras, SD cards, photos from behind the scenes or from the actual project. And by doing so, it's opening Lightroom for me. I can, because I'm using that for my editing, and I can create a catalog right away using the same name within that file structure. So that would save me time and make sure everything is at the right location. So I'm going to quit Lightroom, and it's opening Final Cut, but Final Cut was already open. And basically, I could create then a library and a project. Very easy. Everything is already organized. So see assets. What I put in assets usually is what the client gives me. So that could be titles, logos, fonts, mood board, color palette, the brand guidelines, everything that the client is going to give me in a PDF or anything pretty much that's external. I'm going to check them in the assets folder. Audio, I'm going to transfer here, like and save here all my audio. If I'm using a Zoom recorder or if I have external audio, it's not music, it's just audio. It's I should call that one audio voice because I like to have a specific folder for that one. It's especially because I'm using a lot my H4n, my Zoom H4n Pro, and the files are just like, I know it's just for my audio during interviews, for example. Here it's a bit of my own slang, but export pics and export vids are where I put my exported pictures and videos. And usually what I do as well is I put a red dot on those two. So I know when I come back later on the projects that my exported files, the already edited files, are in this folder. Here Gemini, it's for the red Gemini, GoPro, if I have any GoPro footage, GoPro Max. And the good thing is it's super quickly to delete those folders, much quicker than actually creating them. And Mavic 2 Air, now it's Mavic Air 2S, Air 2S, we call it, because I'm selling that Mavic Air 2. But that was my drone I was using the most this year. Musics, that's where I put all my musics, and I source myself mostly from Artlist. I actually made a video to create sound effects. If you're interested, it's on the channel. And we cover this topic. But yeah, R3, it's from the S7R3. The pictures, the videos, if there are any. Same with the S7S3 and the videos. And usually that covers me in 99% of the cases. Sometimes I will add another folder for After Effects or Premiere if I need to do a back and forth in one of those softwares. All right, I see that we are a few more on the live. Welcome, guys. Come say hello in the comments. If you can't comment, it's because you didn't subscribe to my channel. And something I've noticed is that 80% of you guys are not subscribed, and you're still watching my videos. So what are you guys doing? So yeah, if you subscribe, then you can comment and you can ask questions. But even if you don't ask questions, come and say hello. And you can leave, if you enjoy the content, leave a thumb up and share the content to more people who might be interested. You can follow me as well on Instagram, Guillaume Cornet Films. I usually talk and do pre-lives there and ask the questions that of the topics I'm going to choose during the live. Yeah. No, we've got a few people watching, but no one is saying hello. Are you shy? You guys are shy. Okay, I'll take it. Alright, so I guess you guys want to get started. I think Noiko is just waking up at 6 a.m. So that's why he's not asking questions. We're going to jump in Final Cut, and okay, you guys can see everything. I already have a project, but ignore this. First thing you would do in Final Cut, you were going to, before doing anything, so you let's say you imported all your footage, right? You've got the file structure that we just went through. What I would do is create a new library. And the library is basically the top of the folder architecture in Final Cut. Events are just under, and projects are just under. So it's just the tree, the structure of Final Cut. The project being the actual timeline. Project here means timeline. Event, so let's say you could create a library. What I like to do is for every project, and that's why it's confusing because the terminology is a bit different in Final Cut. I would use one project per library, which means, let's say, okay, I'm doing a video for a brand. I'm doing a video for Samsung, let's say. All right. I'm going out, I film, take pictures, do behind the scenes, everything, come back home, transfer everything as I showed you in my folders. First thing I do is I go in my library and I create a name just for that project I just did. Which means next day, if I go and film for, let's say, a local business, I will create a new library. And it's going to be in its own file structure as well. So I always make sure to create a new library. It's one library per project. And that's why it's confusing, I know, because Final Cut is called, you have to think library is a container. And that's what we see here, the purple that we have in Friday Live. That's a container. And actually, if you go inside, you can show the package content and you can see it's exactly the same thing. That's the event name, and here you've got all your files. Obviously, it's using shortcuts because it's going to take files from my structure, but that's where you've got everything. So if you were to open within, it's just a container. It's just a container by Apple, just to look pretty. So it's that nice purple logo. But I'm talking too much. I'm talking way too much. We're only here. So that's our library, same. Event. Let's say if I shot for Samsung for 3 days, you could eventually create one event per day. And that's what Final Cut is kind of doing by standard, by default. I never touch this. I never worry about events because it's just the way you want to organize stuff in Final Cut. But I feel like I already organized everything prior to that in this file structure. Because for me, what's important is what I film on the camera A and camera B. I don't, even if I filmed for Samsung for 3 days, I don't really care that it was shot on day 1, day 2, or day 3, not all the time. So it depends how big your project is, and if you have multiple days and every day is different, it makes sense to create different events within the library. But it's just going to add more complexity, which we don't need. When you click on it here, you can expand it, obviously. You're going to have keywords. Those keywords are going to be, they could be the ones you're using when you import some files. So the way I import some files, let's say I want to import files into my library, I would do, okay, let's select the GoPro, the Komodo S3, and the Gemini, all the videos. I would drag and drop into the event. The library doesn't work, don't do that, but go into the event. Obviously I have no file, but what Final Cut would do is it would create keywords for me here. Is using the exact same structure that I already have. So that I don't have to bother, and when I want to look for, see here, like it was, that one I already imported this way. It's all my S3 footage that I had from a shoot. I know they are in this keyword. So that's why I try to organize everything in the Finder, in the Apple, in OS X, rather than in Final Cut, because otherwise you're gonna organize your files way too many times, and you're wasting, in my opinion, you're wasting time. And in the end, when I do a project, medium projects, small to medium projects, I don't worry too much about which date was shot. And what I end up doing anyway is per camera, I'm going to drag and drop everything onto the timeline and start working from there. I know a lot of people are working very differently on Final Cut, so you do you, but that's an example. I've got a question from Alex. What? No. Okay. So Alex asks, what to do? Like, you tell me if I'm wrong, if I misinterpreted if I misinterpret your question. But basically, you're saying you're doing multiple versions of projects, and what to do, how to do that. I would stay within the same library, because your project is going to use the same files that are within that library. So if you create a new library, you will need to re-import everything, recreate proxies if you're using proxies. So you're going to spend a lot of time for not much. Let's say here we've got this timeline called demo. Make sure I'm typing, I have my library selected, but it's always at the top here. Obviously, like if you've got the name upside down, but usually I think it's always at the top. What I would do to create a new version is you can do two things. Usually I do duplicate project or duplicate project as. The only difference is, like, if you click on the first one, it's going to iterate the number and put a 1 after. And let's say move that one to trash. If you do duplicate project as, it's going to allow you to change your project settings as well and change the name and everything. One thing you can't change is your frame rate. It's going to stay to whatever frame rate you had in the first version. So what I would do is I would duplicate my project, so either right click or Command D, and I would work from that new version. Make sure you double click on it to open the new version. It should show here, it's the new one here as well. Don't start editing, or otherwise you're going to start working on the wrong one. But that's a new project. Another way of doing it, and what's happening is, like, sometimes I'm working on very large projects and I'm starting doing stuff, and you know, it's very easy to make a mistake, especially with the magnetic timeline. Sometimes you could move something and not realize that you moved your whole sound effects or everything that was linked to that clip. So what I like doing is, when the project is fairly big, is let me delete that, but I would do snapshot project, which is just a lighter, it's basically a duplicate, but it's giving you a name as well of when the snapshot was made. Which means now I'm going to keep working on my demo one, and if I realize I made a mistake, I can come back and I know how far I have to come back, because in Final Cut, if you're using Final Cut, you may know that there is no save button. You don't need to save the projects are continuously saving, so there is no save as, save, like if you go into the file, there is no such thing. It's just presets here. You can, however, Final Cut is saving iteration of your projects, of your libraries, as well in the folder. I'm not sure you can access that here. Let's see. That's one of those things where you work with Final Cut. It's the Apple way. It's not giving you any option. But basically, I know on mine, if I go into my video folder, there is a Final Cut folder that's automatically created there, and that's going to create a new library version for me. But yeah, all right, let's keep moving forward. Sorry guys. If you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comments. If you can't comment, it means you are not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe. If you enjoy the content, leave a thumb up. Please consider sharing the video with other people who might be interested. Come and say hi in the comment, because I see that we've got quite a few people connected, but I've got only Alex and Noiko so far who commented, so I don't know who is here. Just let me know, and let me know what you want to see. Let me know if this is interesting to you, or if you want me to talk about something else today. This is why I do those lives. It's really to interact with you guys. Otherwise, I would just do my usual curated videos and try to guess what you guys want. Let's take advantage of the live. But yeah, so you would import your footage this way. like dragging and dropping into the library. That's how I would do. And then I would create a new project. So file, new project. Here you can choose your settings. Here the settings, they don't matter too much, except for one thing, the frame rate. Because it's just something you won't be able to change after. You'll need to create a new project and copy the timeline in this project. That's, yeah, just one quick thing. Here the event, obviously it's created automatically. I'm not going to create one, but video 1080, 4K usually is what I use. And yeah, obviously all the formats. You can use vertical. They do have the story format, which is this one, but for some reason they don't have the Instagram format, which is 1080 by 1350, but it's not here. And but yeah, rendering, don't worry too much about that here. And audio as well, you can use automatic settings pretty much. The other thing too is that if you use automatic settings, so let's click on that, the timeline is going to be set to whatever setting your first clip you're going to drag in the timeline is. So let's say if you've got a 4K at 24 frames per second, the standard size, and you drag and drop and you add use custom settings here selected, it's going to match that first clip. So like if you don't know what you filmed at, that's the best way. Don't worry too much, do that. I don't use that obviously because I want my own settings, but yeah. And like I said, you can always come back later on. So by clicking on your project here, make sure you click on the small eye icon at the top, click on modify, and you have access to everything again. But as I said, not the frame rate. I'm not too sure why, but that's how it is. That's how Final Cut works. But you can change your format, and that's very that's very convenient when you duplicate. So let's duplicate that project. Now I'm going to go into modify, and for example, I want to create a new version, which is going to be for Instagram story. Let's name it story. And now my demo story, if I open it, it's see like the long square. So what I would do is like select my clips, make sure here at the bottom I'm on fill. So I'm going very quickly here, but because that's not the point. But here I would be able to do stories, and then I would shift the way I want each clip. I'm not gonna go. You have a way to smart conform, so it's going to adapt and move the clips for you on the x-axis because the software is going to do some smart conforming. That's what it is. Trying to find who is in what is the subject and what's happening in the frame and reframe for you. For example, that one wouldn't work, so you would need to click on it and move like this. I'm going to just in case you guys want to see, I'm just going to move that. Oh, missed it. There we go. I've got a keystroke so you can see if I use shortcuts. Alright, so we've got a project created. Double click on it, it's opening. Always make sure the project name here is the one you want to work on. And that's something with Final Cut that's very easy to do the mistake. You duplicate your project and you start working on it, but you didn't open the new project. So that's something I've done so many times and I keep doing. So the first thing I do now is open the project and make sure. Otherwise you end up with your duplicate to be the old version, the new version, the old version, and the non-duplicated one, the original one being the new version. So it's not a waste of time because you have made them. You just need to make sure you work on the right version and rename them accordingly if needed. So I'm going to start from everything, yeah, from the left and go top right here, and then we'll go down. And we'll talk about the different elements you see in Final Cut. So I'm going to go full screen. I think that should work not too bad for you guys. Let me know if you don't see something. Let me know if the video or the audio is not good. I can fix them eventually. But yeah, so library, event, and the project are inside the library. You have different ways of showing everything. So make sure you're on the first one here. But you can use this view or this view, which is a bit more visual, and you have two ways of using that view. Is you can click on the clip, selecting, see the yellow area, and then you can drag and drop like this. Or when you have a clip that's a bit longer like this one, you can select, or any of those, you can select what part of the clip you want. Obviously I'm going a bit fast, and that's why my Final Cut is not able to, those are S7S3 footage, so my Final Cut is having a hard time viewing them in real time. But let's say, let me take one clip that's already in proxy. I think, yeah, that one. So that's what's happening. You would drag and drop, and then you can just take that portion of the clip. That's an idea. Same for the audio files that you can import exactly the same way, dragging and dropping into the event folder. Let me know if I'm going too fast. For me, like, it's very obvious I'm working with Final Cut every single day, so it's very, like, it's a very natural software for me, and I do press shortcuts without even knowing. So let me know. And guys, ask questions, please. Don't leave me alone here. It's very lonely. So here, you've got all the clips that you would have imported, or you can select the colors. Obviously, I had some keywords as a color here, or you can choose your keywords, which should match the your Finders library, whatever the way you organize your folders before, if you imported it the same way I did. And here I've got all my clips, obviously. What I usually do for a shoot is I don't like previewing everything in this file browser, okay? So what I do, sorry, when I come back from a shoot is I select everything, drag and drop, boom, timeline. That's all. And then I go through that and I start editing. Another way to import the footage is to use those tools here. And they are very visual. You could use that one. It's going to put everything after the playhead. So they are playhead based. See, my playhead is here. If I do that, it's going to import the footage after the playhead. So let's place it at the very beginning. Click. Now, my apologies. That one is going to place everything after the last clip. Okay. That one is going to place it wherever you have your playhead. So that's the one. Let's say if I do that, it's going to cut my clip. See how it cuts that clip, and insert everything in the middle. Let's take only one clip so it's a bit more obvious. And we're going to zoom in here. So I'm going to do that one again. Boom, see how it's splitted my clip. And finally, you can add this one, which is going to add the clip on top. Very important if you need to overlay multiple clips and do some help cuts or whatever. Very useful. So yeah, different views, or if you're like me, dragging everything and dropping everything down anywhere, I would just select all my clips and drag them onto the timeline, not even worrying about what's on the left side of my screen. All right, any questions so far? I know there is a few seconds delay, so I'm going to give you a few seconds to ask me questions, and I'll be right back. I'm going to grab some water. All right, I'm back. Better with some water. All right, so that's the two different kind of views. You can adjust when you're in this view. You can adjust if you want to have the clips like this, kind of matching their length. You can leave it like this, but you can use the slider here, which is kind of extending the clip so you can go more into detail. So again, like I said, this is S7S3 4K 10-bit 422 footage, and my computer is having a bit of a hard time decoding that. So the proxy ones here are a bit faster eventually. Proxies here, that one maybe. And you can filter them as well here and show the waveform if you need to use the audio. But as I said, I don't really use that view. I'd rather use that. I don't really care what it is here because I'll drag them here in my timeline anyway. All right, next. All right, are we still live, guys? I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So I'm live, but I can't see my can't see myself. Right, looks like I'm back. My apologies, guys. Some very useful information you can find here on your clips is the duration, obviously, the frame size, and the frame rate, and when it was created. You can change all of this by ticking the boxes here. That's all the information I need, usually. And you can save that finally on the last version. It finally works. Make sure you're on the last version of Final Cut, but you can save that for your custom save column set as your custom one. That's because on the previous versions, Final Cut kept deleting whatever we had, and putting back some random stuff that you were not interested in. Anyway, and obviously you can look for clips if you know the name of the clip you're looking for in here. One thing you can always do is select a clip in the timeline once you drag it, obviously, and press Shift F, and Final Cut is going to look it up for you in the library. Or you can do right click, and show. Oops, no, you can't even do right click. You would need to do probably around here. So I don't even know where that shortcut is, but they Shift F, and let's say for whatever reason you want to find this in the Finder, you would do Command Shift R, and it's going to look up for the original file in the Finder. Another way of seeing the information, I'll talk about that a bit after. Here we've got our main viewer. It's telling us what our timeline settings are all the time, so 4K, 23, 24 frames per second, stereo, and the name of the project should be here as well. The ratio of your viewing, so the settings, I like to keep it to fit, which means no matter whatever, how I reorganize my windows, this is going to try to maximize it, as you can see. So we're trying to keep it as big as possible. And view here. So you can see I've got proxy preferred. Let me know if that's something. I think I'm going to skip the proxies today. but let me know in the questions if you want me to show you how to use proxies. And obviously you can show the scopes and a bunch of tools here, video angles if you're using multi-cameras. That could be another topic as well. You would have this one probably ticked, and that's the one you want. And here you could show only a few channels, obviously alpha, but you could have like just showing one channel. I don't use that, and maybe I should. I'm pretty sure for color grading that could be very interesting. And you can use overlays. The ones I'm using the most are the two first ones, so the title, safe zone, and the horizon. The title, safe zone, is this one. It's usually where your titles are going to be safe, I guess, for broadcasting. So I don't know about YouTube. But YouTube, for example, what's happening is like when you slide your mouse at the bottom, you've got the playhead, the play bar at the bottom that could hide your title. So I guess you could use those as well as a guide. Plus the horizon is very useful if you are filming something and you need it to be straight. So here I can see like my horizon is fairly straight. Here too, here it's terrible. It was on purpose. And yeah, just to give you an idea and to help you frame your shots in post if you need it. I'm just going to remove those. HDR, if you are working HDR, we're not going to cover that. And those are range checks. I don't use them much. And it's not going to show us anything because we've got some log footage here. Alright, that's it for the main window. And now let's move to the inspector and all the effects. To show this one, you can click here obviously. If it's not showing, same for that left part, this logo. This one is if you're using multiple screens for your editing, you could have the preview on a different screen. I do use two screens. I'll show you here. Where is my... So here, yeah, I've got my MacBook and Final Cut on the side, and obviously here I'm using it for the live and for monitoring, for controlling the live, and having Final Cut here. But even when I'm editing, I'm using only that screen, the big screen. Because the way I put them, like I will need a third screen or another screen at the top that's color calibrated for my final display, for example. But that screen is big enough. All right, let's go back into Final Cut. First menu. And we've got 18 seconds left, so if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments section in the chat. If you can't leave a comment, it's because you are not subscribed. So make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a like. If you learned something from it, leave a thumb up and share the video to anyone who would be interested with starting doing Final Cut and with Final Cut or editing in general and wants to learn some more. And yeah, thank you for everyone watching and staying with me today. Compositing. So let's go from the top. I'm gonna go very quickly over the less important one and go faster with the more important one. You'll use that a bit later. It's a bit more advanced. I'm going to skip that, but blending mode is when you overlay multiple clips and you want them to blend in with different modes. Opacity, it is what it is, very straightforward. Position, as same, X. You can see how you can change the value one by one by typing the value if you wanted. And you can always reset your values here. I like to slide up and down. It's the fastest way, I believe. Same with the rotation. You can rotate, change the whole scale if needed. Make sure you reset everything after. Or you could change only the X and kind of stretch your footage. And same with the Y, obviously. Anchor, it's where the center of the clip is. So you can change that. So let's say if I change that, now if I rotate, it's rotating around the chopper. See, like the point of rotation is different. I'm never using the anchor one. Like I never have to. Finally, next, crop is what it means. You can crop the clip wherever you are. And a good way to do that, like the previous one, you have this small logo. You can always reset all the settings here by clicking that arrow. But this small icon, same here, means you can do it visually. One thing is you need to press done here when you're done, or press again on this thing at the end. Just don't forget, otherwise you won't be able to play back your footage. Done. Same with the distortion. Gives you some handles to distort your footage. Very useful if you're doing a lot of real estate video. I use that one a bit to make sure my walls are straight. Obviously I don't move it that much, but just a little bit. Stabilization. Here, perfect example. So I'm just going to trim that clip a little bit, and we are going to stabilize it. So I'm just going to tick the box here, and I'll play it back. It's cool, huh? It works pretty well on this one. So that's after, obviously, stabilization, and that's before. I'm going to extend the clip a little bit so you guys can really see how I was shaking the camera. Now let's click stabilization. Here it's analyzing. Another way of seeing if you're analyzing is clicking on that wheel at the top. Obviously it's finished now, but it's going to show transcoding and analyzing time. Much more smooth. Enough. There are two ways of stabilizing the footage in Final Cut. Automatic works for easy clips like this. Leave it to automatic. It's going to choose one of them, and you can choose the smoothing here. You can increase it to 5, and it's going to punch in even more to add more stabilization. There is a bit of weirdness happening on the corners, but I'm not sure you can see that through the stream. Yo, Andrew, do you have any questions? I know you're not on Final Cut, but if you have any questions on anything, thanks for joining the chat. Long time no see. Oh, Andrew, I wanted to show you quickly look at my camera on the side. Look fancy. Just have to go behind my microphone. It's kind of cool, but yeah. Streaming with the S7S3 on a capture card. 4K camera, streaming in 1080. Can't wait for us to be able to stream in 4K, actually. That would be cool. So stabilization, yeah, did a very good job here. You can use the smooth cam, so that's going to reanalyze, obviously. That was inertia cam that the software picked for us. But here you can have access to a few more settings. So obviously, that clip doesn't have any scaling. I'm not zooming in, I'm not zooming out, so you could remove entirely the scale. It's not going to change anything. But you could say like it's still moving too much up and down, and you could increase the translation. See how it's zooming in? It means it's going to add even more stabilization. And yeah, that's what's happening. There is a bit of weird thing happening in the foreground, and that's mostly due to lens distortion. Smooth cam works better with good lenses. If you start using a GoPro lens, it can be a bit weird, and then you need a special software. It doesn't mean it's impossible, like some softwares are doing a very good job, but not Final Cut. Final Cut is pretty, like if you're handheld like this, that works, but nothing more. Don't go more complex than that, otherwise it's not going to work. This is are you using Red Raw or Sony? All the footage here is Sony, yeah. I don't think I've got any Komodo. No, it's all Sony here. Some of it is has a lot, some does not. High die that 10 gok. Do I find that stabilization works better on the higher res footage? I'd say yes. it does, because eventually you're always going, like, stabilization is always cropping in most of the time, unless you're using some kind of warp stabilization. In that case, like, the lens distortion is very important. But shooting 6K means you can crop to 4K and move within that frame. You just have to think that when you're filming, like, if you know that you're going to use stabilization, which usually you don't want to do anyway, you need to give a bit of room. And obviously filming in higher resolution is going to give a better final look, sharper, obviously. Now, is it working better? I think 4K is already plenty of data for the software to work with. And now I don't think Final Cut is the best for the stabilization. It does a good job. It doesn't do a great job. And again, like, if I messed up to the point that I need something stronger than Final Cut, it means I really messed up. Which means I need to solve that issue next time. Like, it shouldn't happen. I shouldn't be in a position where Final Cut can't fix my stabilization. In that case, I would go probably in After Effects and Mocha and do a round trip, if it's really bad. But yeah, and I don't use, like, I guess if I was flying FPV, I would definitely consider using one of those softwares like RealCD and the plugins. But yeah, so far I don't think it makes a difference between 6K and 4K. Obviously 4K, if you're exporting in 4K, you're actually upscaling your footage. But yeah, it depends what's your output. I do notice the difference between 6K and 4K. 5K, it depends of the camera. You know, there are so many factors. Like, if you're slightly autofocus on 6K, it looks like 4K. So many. Have I ever thought about doing that? About shooting a whole video in 6K? So I'm talking I'm talking to a brand at the moment that does a 9mm lens, and it's for the Komodo. Or it's a EF lens, I think, but it's going to work on the Komodo. So I'll try. I could try. I haven't. The thing is, in 6K, you would need to be super sharp to be really able to zoom in much, or shoot at very slow aperture. Like, so less. I do shoot, if I have the option to shoot at T1 and you know it and you've played with that lens, I will do it. And most of the time I'm at 2.8 because that's what most of my lenses are. So if I were to do that, I guess I would need to shoot much higher, around f4 to f9, and that would mean yeah, I think that could, I don't think you could, because 6K times, what's the ratio to go down to 4K? It's a 50% more, right? So yeah, if you shoot at 30mm, that's a 60mm. If you shoot at 12, if you want to crop all the way in, I think it would be 24. If I'm not, like, my math is not good like this live, but I would need to draw something. But basically, yeah, if you were to do 1.5 zoom, 150% zoom, it's yeah, you get a 24mm. I would be 200% zoom, sorry. You get 24mm, which is still fairly wide. So you don't get, but you could get different angles, I guess. 6K is not enough. I would say 8K maybe. 8K, yeah. But when I'm in position to get the monster or a dragon. Do you have ideal tips for color grading using FCPX Yeah, I actually did a live last week, last Friday. If you want to have a look at this one, let me show you. Let's jump on. Give me a sec. I'll try to share my screen. This one. So let's jump on my YouTube. And if you go on my channel here, you can find it here. It's in the uploads. Otherwise, I've got a playlist called past live streams, and you should be able to find it here. So it was a live we did last Friday, and we talked color grading for the Sony A7S III. But I can do a very quick color grading in the last. We've got 5 minutes left, so I could do one if you want. Do you have any specific question regarding color grading? What would you like to know? That 10 got. Let me know, and we can do like a 5 minutes deep dive. But otherwise, yeah, watch this one. I've got a few. Have I done more color grading stuff? I do cover a bit of color grading every time we do a bit of Final Cut Pro. Otherwise, no, that's Lightroom. I do need to do a proper color grading one. But like, if you have a question, very specific question now, just ask it. We've got 3 minutes left. Would be interesting to see what it would look like if so you could get 12mm 6K, 24mm, 4K 50. Yeah, I guess. Yes, but like you would need to. I think you would need to have a very sharp lens, because I've seen, especially on cinema cameras, it's not just sharpness that you get by having that extra resolution. I don't know if you feel the same way, but when you use your Canon, your C70, or C200. Sorry, I always forget the names of the Canon, but or the C200 is it? Mark III? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know Canon, but basically having a higher resolution like the Komodo 6K. I don't think the Komodo is sharper. Let me go back on this screen. So yeah, I don't think the Komodo is sharper than the Sony A7S III. If anything, the A7S III is sharper because there is a lot of. It's just the technology that's behind the lens. Like Sony is about sharpness, whereas yeah, it's sharp with a sharp lens on the Komodo, and yeah, you can tell the difference, but it's not about sharpness. But when you start zooming in, I think like it's very hard to explain. You've got more details for sure in 6K, but it's not just sharpness. So you would need a lot of sharpness, or be able to add a lot of sharpness in post to be able to zoom that much. Because if you've got 50mm, so it means like you're pretty much times 5 in 1080, right? And that would be amazing. That means you don't need multiple lenses. Obviously, that's not true. We both know it's not true, but the compression and everything, that would be very different. But that's worth trying. Let's make a video about this. Can you get a very sharp lens, very sharp 12mm, and let's do it. Let's film 6K. Yeah, that's it. It's not the sharpness. It's the details. Obviously the color science, but the way the image is processed is really different. It's very hard to explain. All right, one last question, guys, and we're going to wrap up. We covered pretty much, like we just touched on Final Cut. It was it's much longer than I thought. So I might need to do like a proper video, but yeah, just trying stuff. the 12mm 2.8. Apparently they're doing a 9mm 2.8 here. That would be cool. What's the Daydreamer? Why do they call that the Daydreamer? Is there like some kind of black pro mist inside? Dini ask what's the live stream setup. So right now, how can I show? I could show you. So this camera that you're viewing through right now is. Can I put it? Talking to. Thanks for letting me know. Sorry about that. No, it's my scene on OBS. I didn't set the audio. So that's one on my. I'm learning. Sorry. All right, I'll start again. Let me know if that cuts. Thanks for letting me know, guys. Sorry about that. Is it back now? Is it working? I think there is like 10-15 seconds delay, so I'll get started and you guys tell me if it's not back. So Sony A7S III here with the 24-70 G Master on it. I've got a ND filter because it's a bit bright, and I'm filming with the Cinetone profile because I can't put a lot directly in the camera. Cool. Cinetone works pretty well. It's not the profile I use with this camera, but it works pretty well for the live stream. I think ideally I would need to have an external monitor with my own LUT, with my own color, to be able to have this look but with my colors. I think it looks very clean, but yeah. So 24-70 Sony A7S III, and for the audio I've got. So that was the one I didn't set on this camera, but on this scene. But basically it's a NTG3, NTG3B, yeah, with an XLR that goes into my H4n. Can I put some? I don't know if it's a bit dark for you guys. Like if I do that, H4n Pro, and the audio. So the headphone jack, I'm using it to go into and feed into the Sony A7S III, so I've got good audio. And I've got like a super cheap, I think I can't extend much, but my boom arm for the audio is a super cheap, what's the brand? That cheap brand on Amazon. But yeah, it's $10 or $20 that's onto a Wally monitor mount. And same, that whole thing, it's a monitor mount that I use with like monitor arms, but I put my camera on it, if that makes sense. And yeah, so that's kind of a MacGyver setup, but it works pretty well, and it means I can face my screen and turn to you guys and talk here as well. So that's for the camera and the audio. For the light, I've got an aperture 120D with it's the Mini Dome 2. See, so 120D, the original one. And it's broken actually, so that's one I don't use. That's Emma in the background, by the way. Hello, Emma. Yeah, so you can see the monitor arms here, and I've got the control panel at the bottom, so I can adjust the intensity, and right now it's on nearly the minimum. Works very well. It's very small, and it's on, all of this is on a cart, an IKEA So it's on wheels. It's a bit messy, so I'm not going to show you, but I'm making a video about this. So if you follow me on YouTube, I'll definitely make a video about that. Or follow me on Instagram as well, at Guillaume Cornet Films, because I'm posting behind the scenes usually, and you can see it more. It's an IKEA trolley on wheels, pretty standard. So mounted with monitor mount and the cameras and everything. But the mount and everything is super cheap. Just the most expensive part is the camera, obviously. And so the camera is feeding into the computer via a capture card. It's the video capture HDMI. I think it's $20 on Amazon. It's the cheapest one you can find. The only thing is that it doesn't do 4K. However, I think YouTube doesn't do 4K live, so it doesn't matter. It does matter if you want to do some recording directly on the computer. So if you want to record your live directly in the computer, you need to have, I'm going to switch to this one, but you need to have a better capture card. Otherwise, it's doing the job for YouTube. It's great. Looks like it's working the best, and it's $20. So into the USB adapter on my dongle, going into the USB-C on the MacBook Pro. And yeah, that's a MacBook Pro 16-inch from 2019, fully spec'd one, but you can hear the fans. Like it's full speed, and I cleaned it last week, so yeah, I think programmed obsolescence. How do you say? Like it's going to die by itself anywhere. It's good for editing, but yeah. And I think that's it. And I've got fast internet. So in Australia it's called NBN 100. So download 100 megabytes per second, 40 to 50 upload. And yeah, for Australia it's really good. Australia is a bit behind on everything, but hope that answers your question. All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap up, unless you have one last question coming. Yeah, Newer for life. Yeah, Newer is the brand. So Newer is I think the boom arm is like $15, and Wally is like the equivalent of Newer, but for laptop monitors, monitor stand. Pretty much everything on my desk is from Wally, even like that monitor stand behind. Super cheap. Even the thing holding, like everything is from Wally on Newer. Like it's the Amazon cheap brand you can find. It's doing the job. It's solid. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter, but I don't post much on there. Ask me any questions on Instagram, send me DMs. Thank you so much for your comments. If you enjoy the content, leave a thumb up. If you want to see something specific next time as well, feel free to DM me, leave a comment in this video. I'll make sure to create that for you. It's still a bit messy, but I'm learning. We're getting better, guys. Hopefully the audio and the video were good. Subscribe, share with whoever could be interested. Thank you so much for your question and watching. And I'll see you next time. Maybe tomorrow. Tschüss.